Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm so glad you could make it. How you been? Take a load off.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss The Sporting Club, which released in 1971, based on the novel by Thomas McGuane and a screenplay by Lorenzo Semple Jr. and directed by Larry Peerce. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows James Quinn, played by Nicolas Coster. He has decided to go up to his little holiday cabin up by the lake. When he gets up there, he gets reminded that it's the local centennial of the sporting club that he is also a member of, and realizes that he's going to have to attend their party. He hooks up with his friend Werner Stanton, played by Robert Fields, and realizes that his friend Stanton might be a little bit unhinged. Things start to explode, people get really drunk, and then something weird happens.
Must be what a real duel looked like.
So I'd never heard of this film before.
Nope.
I was like, okay, early 70s movie, interesting cast, don't know anything about it.
Nope.
Maybe this is going to be a secret hidden gem,
Yeah,
a potential cult status movie in the works.
Potential.
And then I watched it. And I guess the theme or the feeling I got from this film, what it was trying to tell me,
Yeah.
rich white American bad.
Yeah. Or rich white American thinks they're better than everybody else, but then kind of de-evolves to just everybody else.
Do you think this film's ahead of its time? Or do you think it was the reason why no one bothered with it back then?
I want to say so, but dude, you know me. I think you're asking the wrong guy. Like, if there was a message in this movie, it went because the one word I could probably use to describe this film is boring.
Yeah. Now, I was optimistic when the film started. It starts with a slideshow as we watch the sporting club get built. So we see these old images. And we've got this kind of funky, late 60s kind of song playing.
Yeah,
okay, I'm enjoying this. This is getting me in the mood. Okay.
Yeah.
But then 20 minutes in and you realize that the plots that were set up aren't going anywhere, and it's then that the boredom and the tedium starts to sink in.
Well, yeah, but for me, it was just like, we've got our lead, James Quinn, played by Nicolas Coster.
Yeah.
But the film has done nothing that I can tell to really establish him or his plan. Because
it straight away, I mean, we get one shot where he's looking out the window and we see his sign being removed. So we're like, okay, he's out of business. His belongings are on the table.
Yeah.
And then he goes to find a secretary, and a secretary's
having sex in a cupboard.
whilst on our lunch break.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so is this film gonna be comedic, raunchy, dramatic?
Yeah.
What is it?
I mean, did they even have black comedies in the 70s, or was it
Well, yeah,
invented
but-
later on? Like,
Yeah.
Well,
But-
like what you're saying, like, was this film ahead of its time, but we just don't get it?
Well, I think it's also because it was just really tame.
I don't know, dude. Like you said, this opening sex sequence with her in the cupboard, I'm sat there like, okay, film. So this receptionist, I'm assuming, because like we get told her name and we see that she takes some notes for her boss, but that's about it. And she's having sex. She's eating the sandwich. Her boss walks in, and then she makes the remark later on to him, about, giving him the wrong idea or something. And he's like, well, maybe I should have just jumped ahead. And I'm thinking,
No, isn't it something about having her?
You wanted me, Mr. Quinn?
Sometimes, Mary Beth. Not very badly, or I guess I'd have had you.
And he's like, well, I could have you if I wanted to.
but I don't know if I should now. But I'm like, I feel like Quinn is at a loss. He's losing his business. His sex life is in the toilet, and he just wants to get away. So
Yeah.
he flies up to his cabin next to this lake. We don't know where it is. Did they tell us where it is?
Not really.
No, it's a beautiful place. My
It is.
God,
It's really scenic, yeah.
really scenic and beautiful cabin. And he drops down and lands. The warplane lands down, and he meets up with Jack Olson, who is the gameskeeper. Now, this guy, I was fucking scrambling my brain for like 30 minutes. You know, when you guys say don't go on Wikipedia, it's really hard to look up people, you know, when you're watching the film and you're like, I know your fucking face. And it turns out that he's the father Walton from the Waltons.
Okay, yeah,
But
yeah.
he's also the helicopter pilot from Cliffhanger who gets killed.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
when Michael Rook is there. And I was just like, oh man, I really want to watch Cliffhanger now.
Yeah.
But Olsen says to Quinn, oh yeah, your mate Stanton's up here. And he's like, oh, okay. And Olsen says, you know, the rest of the club's coming up because you've got the bicentennial this year. And I'm like, okay, so that must be a big thing.
Big special
then?
celebration. Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm assuming the plot of the sporting club is going to be about the sporting club because at the moment, Quinn's giving me nothing.
Other than he's lost his job and his money and has nothing going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then we have his friend who does seem to have everything going on.
Well, not upstairs, I think.
Well, yeah. But he's got everything in terms of status and wealth.
Yes.
And he's got a nice looking girlfriend who's really into him, but doesn't want to marry him. But, you know, but he seems content and he's happy that his friend's here. And he's like, don't worry about your business being out, you know, going bust. And don't worry about any of that stuff. We got a bunch of rich dickheads turning up later on.
Yeah.
We're just going to have some fun.
We're going to do some fishing. We're going to have some drinks. And Werner Stanton, played by Robert Fields, like, he was more charismatic and was emoting more than Nicolas Coster.
Yeah.
But that just kind of made their relationship for me worse because it just felt like Coster, James Quinn, wasn't reacting to any of the crazy, excited, you know, stuff that was coming from Stanton. It was kind of like he was kind of shell-shocked by it. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. And then just would ignore what he said. Like, Stanton has built a dueling room underneath his cabin, a dueling room. He has bought, what, 15th century French fucking pistols or 18th century? I don't know centuries, okay? But he's bought French pistols and he's wanting to make little lead bullets and duel with people. And I'm
Isn't he like the waste, the absolute waste? So they're buying these stained glass windows and he's just like, yeah, I don't need that. I'm just breaking it down for the lead for bullets.
Yeah, I'm just going to make the bullets.
Okay, again, it's just showing the wealth, the excess, the needless waste.
But what I mean is, as well, nobody is reacting to the fact that he's got these dueling pistols and he wants to shoot people, which obviously is going to end up with somebody getting really fucking hurt.
But he's like, oh, don't worry, it's just clay bullets.
At that point, yeah, but he starts making bullets.
Real ones. Well, let's go to a scene of absolute whimsy and frivolity and silliness.
Yeah.
There's a parade.
Yeah.
Is it a presidential parade?
I think so.
Oh, well. Well, let's go and hijack this party bus, get wasted, not let anybody on, and then moon the president as we drive on by.
Yeah. Is that a message? I'm assuming the film is telling me at this point that Werner is the anti-hero anarchist character and he wants to destroy society as it goes on around him because he's rich as fuck.
Because he can get away with it. And he does. And that's all that this scene really gives us. Because there's no repercussions.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. It just gives us that these are who these are our characters for the rest of the movie.
The scene was weird as hell, right? Because like I said, you've got this parade going on. You've got all these people. You've got these cheerleaders and baton throwing. And then you get this car parade and it looked like JFK. Right. To me, it looked like JFK. And it looked like some of them were even making little handgun symbols towards it. And then but you never see the president's face once. No. Not once. He's got security down there. So I'm like, are they parodying it? Like, are they just making fun of it? Because like you said, then Werner says to Quinn and Janie, played by Maggie Blye, look, come on board this bus. We're just going to drink. And Janie's like, no, I don't want to drink. And he convinces Quinn to have a few drinks. And once again, I'm like, nobody is stopping Stanton's crazy eccentric behavior.
Yeah.
They're just allowing him
He's
to
just an
happen.
enabler right now, just helping everyone on the party bus.
Yeah, and now he's going to tell his friend to drive this bus away with the parade, and then he's going to moon the president, and then it cuts to something else, and we never go back.
Yeah, and there are many sequences in the film that feel just like that. That
Yeah.
they're just an afterthought, scenes that you could remove from this film and not change anything about it.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that this sequence did also highlight for me was how irritated I was getting with the editing and the cinematography.
Oh, right.
It felt very cheap. Now, granted, it's early 70s. They maybe didn't have the budget to do anything good with a camera. But when the camera's doing pans and sweeps, it's jagged, stilted, awkward movement.
Yeah.
They have aerial shots where they're in the helicopter flying over the parade. And then then it cuts to the cameraman in the helicopter flying over. I was like, they're filming the cameraman that's filming the... Oh.
You know, I thought that was a good transition, because with the music
Maybe.
playing when they were looking at the boat...
I just hated the cinematography
Yeah.
because it was so janky, and
Yeah.
then the editing when they were all banging on the bus windows, it just kept cutting to those people banging and banging
Yeah.
and banging, and it just got irritating. And that kind of camera work, where it's really almost extreme close-ups of people like that, comes up many more times in the film, especially during party scenes or revelry, people cheering and jeering and screaming and hollering, and
Yeah,
the
like-
camera's just constantly in their faces, and it almost feels like it never ends.
Yeah.
Maybe again it's highlighting the excess, but it was awful to endure.
Yeah. Like, the whole thing about the sporting club as well is just not really established very well.
It's not.
Quinn goes there, he walks into this big lavish house place that they all kind of live in and stay in, and there's all these different members, but he only really talks to the main ones that you're obviously going to continue to see throughout the movie when they're talking. So we've got Richard Dysart playing Spengler. Now, he really was one of the main ones that I recognized because he played Doc from The Thing, you know, and I've seen him in Back to the Future 3, and I'm like, oh, I like this guy. And if I like this guy who's actually not in a lot of sequences, a lot more than I'm liking my leads, that I'm getting more and more thrown at my face, I'm like, man, this movie is dragging. And Quinn goes up and he says hello to Spengler, and he says hello to Newcomb, I think he is, the old man with the hearing aid, you know, and he says hello to Fortescue as well, which is like, Fortescue's like the head committee guy, and he wants to make some changes and do all these other things. And Fortescue actually doesn't like Stanton because he thinks Stanton's like a fucking dick. But Stanton is a dick,
Right.
you know? So I'm like...
All of this internal politicking that they have for each other also goes nowhere in this film.
No. Yeah.
Maybe in the novel that it came from, there was more layers to it. But in this film, there's nothing.
See, I was good. I didn't wiki the novel. I should have done that. Maybe I should have understood
Maybe.
the movie more. But Jack Olsen, like I said, the gameskeeper, he's been kind of upsetting a few of the sporting club members. And Spengler himself brings up the fact that, you know, Olsen's here for 9 months of the year, eating our game and fishing in our rivers. He's practically stealing from us. I say we get rid of him and replace him. And it turns out Stanton has the same idea as well. Now, I've got to give the film credit. The film did try to establish a lot of the evil things that Stanton is doing as him wanting to just be overarchingly evil over everything. But it does actually start to go somewhere. You know, he seems like he wants to get rid of Olsen because he doesn't like Olsen. But when he does have Olsen removed, he brings in Earl, played by Jack Warden, you know, from 12 Angry Men and
Yeah.
Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead and
Problem
The Replacement.
Child.
Problem Child. And he comes in and just makes the sporting club members, the elite members, just fucking
Very uneasy.
uneasy. Yeah.
He was the breath of fresh air that this film needed, because before he turned up, I was out of the film. I'd already mentally zoned out. And that's despite there being a few glimpses of nudity in the film. And that's because there is a weird sort of triangle relationship going on between Werner, Janie, and Quinn.
Yeah.
Now, Quinn's the one who's turned up and's like, oh, you've got a pretty girlfriend. And there's at one point where Werner's like, isn't she a hot piece of ass?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, you're disgusting.
Yeah,
You're
Werner,
horrible.
Jesus.
You're
Why
both. You're all horrible. So when Jack Warden's Earl turns up, you're like, yes, fucking something I can latch onto. But yeah, there's sequences earlier where Quinn's like up on the rocks and he's looking over, and then he's just staring, and there's naked Janie.
Yeah, naked Janie on a rock. I'm like...
And then Werner comes up to Quinn later and it's just like, oh, I heard you spent most of the afternoon staring. Heard you got a raging hard on.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you trying to set him up with her?
That's it.
What?
Their relationship just didn't feel like it gelled. So even when he was saying that to him, I'm like, is he serious? Is he making fun? Like, Quinn's not even reacting
was like
very
a
well.
tour guide somewhere,
Yeah.
and so he only just recently met her and then brought her here.
And he's been telling people that she's his wife, but she's not really because they're not married. And spoilers, like, I came up with the idea that actually Stanton had set Janie up for Quinn, you know, because he loves his friend so much and his friend's unhappy that he's like, I need to hook him up with somebody. And so I'll get this girl, and he found this pretty girl. But you don't find this fucking out.
Of all the theories you've had and all the reviews we've done, I think you're probably dead on the money with this one.
Fucking yeah, we got nothing else to go from. I did like the bit. There was that bit where Quinn goes out into the woods. I think it's with Lou. I think it was Lou.
Yeah. She was the cleaner.
The cleaner lady comes up and she just starts shoving her ass in his face. Yeah.
I did like that sequence because I did laugh because she was all ass in his face. I was like,
and she wasn't cleaning properly. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, it was the cleaning. It was the like. She is not a cleaner. She doesn't even know what she's doing. Or well, actually, she knows exactly what she's doing.
But I don't know if it's the same girl that he takes off into the woods.
It is. Yeah.
When he's in the woods, he stood there. Quinn stood there, or sat there, and the light shines. And he just looks at this girl's ass in this pair of pants. And it says on the pants, my granddad loves me.
Yeah.
And you're like...
That's a real turn on.
What? But it's like, was that the best joke the whole movie had going?
Yeah.
Because it carries on. Earl, Jack Warden's character, is the worst gameskeeper ever. And... The elite group know this, so they go to obviously get him kicked off of their land.
Oh, there's that. I mean, I did find it kind of funny.
Yeah.
That you've got all these rich people that are marching through the woods.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just like, they get to where Earl's like camp of party goers are.
It's like a house in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, and there's two people like dry humping on the car. Yeah. And he's like, look, I can't get them to stop. He's not stopping. And they're all like, oh, I'm so offended. Oh no, I can't believe it. And they all start panicking and running through the woods like, oh, it's like they're running away from the worst thing they've ever seen. And it's like, that's what I mean by it being so tame. And so that being kind of funny.
Yeah. But Stanton goes to Earl with Quinn and Janie, and they're having drinks and stuff. And Stanton purposely, to me, this is how it felt from the scene, purposely antagonizes Earl to come back to his cabin, to go to the dueling room and play with dueling pistols. So they do. And Jack Warden goes there and he's just messing around because he's always smoking this. It could be just a cigarette or it could be a doobie, but man, is he sucking on it for fucking ages. And Jack Warden's just got the gift of the gab throughout the sequences, especially when he's talking about the different types of bait that he's moved and things like that, you know. But they get the dueling pistols out. Jack Warden has fun with his, but Stanton purposely shoots him. And Earl is spitting up blood and he does not look happy.
Yeah, like that was the most tense moment in the whole film because there was no music.
Yeah.
It went deathly quiet. The blood looked real. Yeah, and his expression sold it. I was like, some actual conflict.
Yeah.
Emotion.
Because I'm sitting there with my notepad like, okay, something's got to happen.
Yeah.
Or go somewhere.
Well, he does. He just leaves.
Exactly. That was it. Like, nothing was said. He just got up and he went. And I'm like, right, okay, so then he must not have actually shot him.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's not dead. He must have injured him because we see him spitting up the blood. But he goes off and then he blows the dam. Now, this made me wonder if the dam that we'd seen earlier with the parade had the elite members on the parade. We just didn't realise them because the camera was fucking all over the place.
Maybe. But yeah, we got the sequence where he's out doing midnight fishing.
Yeah.
And we can hear the explosion sound. I'm like, interesting. And we can hear a rushing sound, and then he's swept away and nearly drowns, but he manages to climb up the bank, up a log, and he's recovered. But then
it's not really established well. It's just some water splashed down. You know, you
somebody just hit him with a fire hose.
Yeah, exactly. You don't see a dam explode. You don't. All we hear after is that the river has been destroyed.
Yeah. But I mean, we might not see that explode, but the film does reward you for being with it this long. By showing you a fair few cabins in the woods exploding. And that was pretty great.
I gotta say, dude, I don't think it's a group of cabins. I think it was just one.
They just blew up from like 10 angles.
Yeah, totally, dude.
At various frame rates.
Because I was very surprised because all the men get their guns together and decide that they're going to go out and get
the
Earl.
rally. They march in formation.
Yeah, because, they're going to defeat Earl just like their forefathers did. And all the women stay back at the house. And Earl turns up with his dynamite and a gun, and he's like, I thought he was taking the women hostage, but actually he just makes them all leave the house, and then he sets the house up. And then as the men are coming back, they're going, and then there's that explosion. But it felt like the explosion was timed off with how the camera angle was. So this is why we got the multiple, and you're right, it went on for ages.
Yes, I was like, I'm fine with this still, because this is more exciting than anything else that's happened.
I did you were loving it.
Have a little laugh at the last explosion. It's a little poof, and the flagpole shoots up and falls down. I was like, they blew up the flagpole. Because then, and now you gotta have another montage. It's time to rebuild the sporting club from the ground up.
Yeah.
So we're cutting wood. We're re-putting the flagpole back up. Yeah, exactly.
Just to go back as well, there was a drinking sequence that they had in this place called the Bug House, which Earl blows up, by the way, which was funny. But it was just crazy. Like, it was a party where all of them were just getting drunk and singing, but they were rushing the tables, weren't they? They were just plying more and more drinks into their glass. Yeah. It was just... It's like elite status, but like animals as well.
Exactly, but that is what this film is trying to say. It's like, look at the super elite wealthy and look how horrible and monstrous and animalistic they actually are.
Yeah, but the crazy thing was, it just wasn't done well.
It was not, no.
It was not done well, especially the joke a second later where they're in the church with the priest.
Yeah, so it's the all hungover at church joke.
Yeah.
Which I know, it's just like, maybe it was like, fine in 71, but I'm just like, it's not funny.
It's just not funny now. But
no.
Earl, like we said, has blown up a bunch of the shit, and the sporting club are trying to establish themselves just like their forefathers have done, because they also want to get to the bicentennial to dig up this time capsule from 100 years ago. So they're establishing themselves there, and Stanton, not wanting to get any more people hurt, he tries to convince Earl to leave. Now, Quinn had already gone there as well and told them that, look, those guys have got a machine gun. And they have. They've got this fucking mounted
World War II
machine gun. And when Earl finds out about this, he sends a couple of his crewmen up there, and they kidnap the old man, Newcomb, with the hearing aid, and tar and feather him. And really tar and feather him. So the film makes you feel like he's really in pain. But... yeah. They're also making it like a comedy, but the music or the acting just doesn't make it seem funny or serious.
Yeah, it's a weird hybrid that doesn't land. It doesn't straddle the comedic, dramatic line at all. And it's just, you're just kind of stunned by its approach to being funny.
Yeah.
Because it just falls flat every time. And that's because it's not consistently been funny either. So.
Because Quinn and Janie are now obviously whinging at Stanton because they've realised that Stanton, got Olsen fired so they can bring in Earl and didn't do all this for whatever reason. But after Newcomb has been kind of tarred, Stanton's like, oh, well, I don't want any more people to be hurt. So he goes to Earl, and he'd already established he had $20,000 in a safe. And he's taken that out and gone, here, Earl, here's the money. And Earl goes, yeah, okay, let's leave. And throws the money up in the air so everybody scrambles for it. And they go. And so, like I said, the sporting club are like, well, we've got to go and get Earl. And Stanton goes to them and says, no, you don't have to. I've already made him leave. If you want to attack anybody, attack me, because I'm just going to go out to the woods on my own. And even like the 3 shots we had of him in the woods weren't even, Janie's like, Werner! And then she sat there going, I couldn't find him. And you're like, did you look? You can't go anywhere. It's like, even if he's wandered off, do you even care? Because she'd had that moment, didn't she, where she said to him, yes, I'll marry you.
Yeah.
And he kind of turned her down because he didn't ever really, it felt like he never really wanted her to. I didn't actually get anything from them talking that made me go, oh yeah, this was like a great moment. I just was like,
what? Oh.
And then it's moved on.
Yeah, moved on. Yeah. To, I guess, the film's grand finale?
Do you want to take it or shall I?
They dig up the old time capsule.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a frenzy as they read it aloud and then all get super excited. We're confused at first.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh. Well, I guess that's all. Let's go have an orgy then.
Well, they look at the picture. There's a picture. And they look at it. And we, the audience, don't ever see it. But they're all shocked. And there's something about a daisy chain. So I'm sat there with my notepad thinking, well, if it's a picture of the sporting club from 100 years ago and somebody's mentioned a daisy chain, I can only assume that they're all just having a big orgy in the picture. And I'm waiting to see an orgy in the picture. I'm like, if I'm right, this will be really funny. And the whole of the members of the sporting club, including Doc Spengler from fucking The Thing, just start going mad about how everything that they've been building for is just useless and worthless. Because Spengler had been reading all the notes, just like they'd done 100 years ago, so they could keep a history because he keeps all the logs. And now he's ripping them up because he's realised that there's just no point. And they all just start taking off their clothes and running into the big tent that they'd made because that was going to be where they, slept from now on once they built the big clubhouse. And they all just start having a mass orgy in there.
You don't really get to see much, but there's enough lighting and body movement to...
Yeah, you get the fucking idea.
To just go, you know what, society did it better.
Yeah. Stanton comes running out of the woods. He's kind of all shocked when he sees the time capsule, like he'd forgotten about it.
Right.
And then once they all start fucking, he goes, you know what? I'm going to get the big machine gun and I'm going to turn it on them. And I'm like, but wasn't this your point? This was the plot. You wanted to destabilize the elite group and bring them down to just
a base level.
A base
mission
level,
accomplished.
Yeah. Then he did. But then even then, he didn't even do that. They were going to do that anyway once they dug up the capsule.
I guess, yeah. Regardless of anything else that happened. But then I'm like, well, this film's about to take a dark turn if he's really about to start gunning everybody down with this machine gun.
Yeah.
But he just fires at them, but he never actually shoots any of them.
No. Quinn kind of convinces him that they're not worth it.
Yeah.
And then Stanton's just like, no, I'm going to pull out these dueling pistols. And I said to myself, man, they've been going on about these fucking dueling pistols.
Yeah, they set it up at the start.
The movie.
We had one in the middle.
And they've got those bullets and nobody stopped them. So I bet they're going to have a last duel here.
Real bullets.
And Werner's going to get shot by his mate because that's been his goal, I think.
He wants out.
From the entire
He's
movie.
had enough, yeah.
Yeah, and so... They do. They count 10. No, they count 5 steps, don't they?
Yeah. 10 bases each. Well,
And they turn and they fire, and Werner gets killed, and Janie and Quinn are in shock.
Yeah, they just stand there until the credits roll.
I didn't realise that he had a gun with bullets. And the people are still fucking in the tent.
Yeah, they're still and the helicopter turns up.
Police helicopter turns up, I think, and just starts looking, and that was it.
Yeah, credits roll.
The credits.
Okay, I mean, as soon as the credits rolled, I was like, "Dad, I'm out."
I was so, yeah. I was
Just
so
get
off.
yeah.
I went right on Wikipedia. I'm like, okay, I must be missing something. And then I realised there's just an empty spot where the plot is. Nobody. There's a page, and they've written the information, but
Or there's a screenplay with an empty plot in it as well.
yeah, I
so-
should have read the book. Should have fucking read the book.
Ian, did you have any favourite or memorable scenes from the sporting club?
I don't really think so. I think I liked Jack Warden's bits, but then again, it's really hard not to like Jack Warden. So then, did I really like his bits or just him? You know, I couldn't get behind the two leads. I couldn't find even the plot remotely enjoyable. Even the orgy bit at the end, it wasn't even like I was in shock. I was like, what, where's this going? Like the director, Larry Peerce, when I was looking at his filmography, there was a film that I did actually see on his list, which was Wired, which was Michael Chilikis's first film. You know,
Right,
from
yeah.
The Thing,
yeah.
Shield. And he's playing John Belushi's,
Yeah.
John Belushi's life story. And the movie has just been absolutely ripped apart by everybody because they've said like he ruined John Belushi's legacy and all that kind of stuff. Which I'm like, I really need to watch it now to compare it to the Sporting Club to see if he ever redeemed himself. Yeah.
So no actual favourites then?
No.
Nothing?
You know what? I'll go with the pants scene in the woods.
Sure.
That's it.
You know what? I'll start with the pants scene in the woods because
Okay.
why not a double shot? I did. I mean, I enjoyed the opening montage of still images and it not the same cast but members of the sporting club as the cast name.
Yeah.
And then the music that was playing, I was like, all right, I'm getting into this. Let's go, movie. And then it really let me down.
Yeah.
I will say there was another moment where I kind of slightly laughed. And that's when Spengler has got his rifle and they're marching and they're like
In the water.
across the water and
Yeah.
he's in and it's up to his it's up to his soles, up to his ankles, up to his knees,
This way,
up to
man,
his waist,
this way.
man, and then he just disappears under completely. I was like,
Yeah.
great. I was only because it's him from The Thing and I'm just like, yeah. So kind of funny, but yeah. Jack Warden, you've already said it. Yeah. When he turned up, he stole every scene he was in. He commanded not only everyone in the film's attention, but your attention watching as well. Because finally somebody with some motive or purpose or as an antagonist or somebody pushing our plot forward, he was doing everything. And so whenever he was on screen, he was fascinating to watch. Great voice, great delivery. It's a shame that everything else around him was just garbage, really.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in terms of other favorite scenes, there are none, sadly. Ian, do you recommend The Sporting Club?
I'm sorry, I cannot recommend Sporting Club. I also will just say right now, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's going to say, oh, you completely missed the messages in this film about whatever these things are that I missed out. That's not my fault. That is the movie's fault. I paid attention. I watched. I paid careful attention to, obviously, the story and the plot and the characters. And even the two leads, Quinn and Stanton, they just... it was like they were absolute polar opposites. You know, one was just going out of his way to cause as much anarchy as he could and nobody was going to stop him. And Quinn did fuck all. You know, and just watched his friend do it. You know, like I don't get the plot if there is one with the Janie character. I don't understand what the whole payoff for the orgy was. I don't get why he wanted to have dueling pistols to be shot when he's just going to get shot outside anyway. Yeah, sure. If you, don't take my word for it. If you're gonna go watch it. But personally, I have found something that's actually slightly more entertaining than Romulus.
No, I'm not going to be recommending The Sporting Club. This was tedious to watch, a real snooze fest with an aimless plot and unengaging characters. It was boring, it was tame, and it was nearly unwatchable, saved by a few explosions and a flash of nudity and a few scenes of ridiculousness. My main complaint? The lack of story. There was a setting, a few character motivations, and that's it. it was all filler until the end. Endless drunken parties, shooting, hunting, and driving and boating in an effort to show the elite white American society being baseless and out of touch and moronic in a very juvenile way. The cinematography is nice, due to some nice scenic locations, but the frenzied, shaky action or party scenes were atrocious to sit through. It was jarring and ugly, and it looked and felt very cheap. The music was okay. There was a couple of songs that matched the mood, but nothing special, and that was what I was hoping for after seeing the cast list. It's a real shame. This could have been a cult film, lost in time, but this is not one of them. This needs to be reburied in a time capsule and left for another generation. I don't recommend this unless you want an early night. Welcome to the club. Be ready for some shocks. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
For the dear old flag I die, mother.